Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce a special lady who's going to talk to us tonight about why we are here. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Sharon Carlquist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here tonight to show your support for this important cause. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. According to statistics from the National Network to End Domestic Violence, more than 1 in 4 women have experienced rape, physical violence, and/or stalking. Each year, approximately 7 million women are raped and are physically assaulted. Nationwide, an average of 3 women are killed every day by a current or former intimate partner. My name is Sharon Carlquist, and I am here to acknowledge the strength and resiliency of my mother. Sometimes when we're children growing up, we're not aware of the struggles of the adults in our lives who try to provide a safe, nurturing environment. It is difficult for parents to always be there for their children, but it is almost impossible to establish and sustain that environment if one of those parents is doing all the work and fighting for consistency and love in the lives of their children. Such was the situation in our house. As a child, I loved my dad so much. I viewed him as strong, outspoken, and smart because he seemed to know everything about anything. But with age comes wisdom, and now looking back, I can see the strength and love my mother possessed to make the childhood of my siblings and me the best that it could possibly be in the face of staggering odds. Because of her strength, her unflagging love, and her humanity, I am here tonight to acknowledge my mother, my favorite person in the whole world, and my hero. My mother and father met at a dance hall before he served in the Army for 6 months. They dated for a year and then were married. The first 3 children were born within 7 years, and my younger brother was born 13 years later. My father constantly cheated on my mother, but because of the times, the morals, and religious commitments she had made, and because of her children, she stayed. My mother lived in a nightmare of a marriage, enduring psychological and physical spousal abuse. A psychological diagnosis states that the abuse must last at least 1 year. My parents were married for 66 years, and for 64 of those years, my mother endured abuse almost every day. This kind of maltreatment wears a person down. It becomes an expected way of life. It becomes a fact of life. It becomes their norm. My mother endured this treatment because she had to protect and provide for her children. Besides, what was she going to do? She had 3 small children at the time, no money, and no place to go. I look back now, and I don't know how my mother survived and kept everything together. I'm sure her inner fortitude and lots of prayers kept her hanging on. Mom scraped by every month because she was the major support of the house. Dad walked around with the checkbook in his pocket, refusing to keep track of the checks he wrote. He disagreed and swore at my mother when she spoke. He'd do the opposite of any request she proposed, all the while keeping a clean house and homemade meals for all of us to come home to. My mother cleaned other people's houses for $10 a day and stopped by the local grocery store on the way home to buy $6 worth of food for dinner that night. She was my dad's personal slave, so he always got what he wanted. She could never say no, and though she was dying on the inside, my siblings and I didn't have a clue. How does a human being allow themselves to get so beaten down? If you are told that you are damn fat and damn ugly and damn stupid every day for many years, you will come to believe it. You become conditioned to believe that you are nothing, you never have been, and you never will be. You forget what being happy feels like. You lose your sense of self-worth, and you become ashamed of yourself and the life you are leading. Some of the things I remember from childhood that now make sense when I examine my parents' marriage are: we ate dinner every night at 7:30. That way, Dad had time to eat, clean up, and go out with one of his girlfriends. Even as a small child, I wondered why Mom ironed so late into the night. Little did I know, she averaged maybe 4 hours sleep a night because she was waiting for Dad to come home. Dad gave our clothes dryer to a girlfriend. My mother couldn't get another because Dad's credit was so bad. So my grandmother signed a loan for Mom to get another one. Mom used to drive us around town late at night looking for Dad. It was kind of fun because we got to wear our pajamas. I can't imagine what was going through my mother's mind. My father was employed by the city, but was fired because the chief said he was giving the city a bad reputation for womanizing while on duty. My mother found jewelry boxes and wrapped gifts in the glove compartment of the car. Women called late at night because they were drunk and needed a ride home. So Dad would pick them up and not come home till morning. Why stay in a one-sided marriage like this? Why does it take so long to build up the courage to finally say, I can't live like this anymore. I don't deserve to be treated like this. I'm a good person and I deserve much better. I knew Dad was hard-headed and controlling, and looking back, I'm pretty sure he was a narcissist. As a child, I didn't realize Mom was wearing long-sleeve blouses to work at the shoe factory during the summer to cover up bruises on her arms, shoulders, and neck. Years later, after I had left and realized what had been before my eyes all that time, I asked my mother, why didn't you speak up? Her response was, it's just easier not to say anything because the consequences were too unbearable. Though I didn't know what she meant at the time, her mental and emotional state of mind took a beating too. Nearly every spring, she got sick with bronchitis, which turned into pneumonia. She was then hospitalized and quarantined. Dad refused to wear a hospital gown and told the nurses she had advanced Alzheimer's. 15 years ago at Christmas, my dad spilled a liter of soda on the kitchen floor, refused to clean it up, and went to bed. After my mom called him an SOB, he beat Mom's head with his fists like a punching bag. She held a fetal position until it was over. She suffered a concussion and severe bruising. She still has reoccurring headaches to this day. She called my sister and stayed with their family for 3 months. My sister and I were so proud of her to finally get out of this house of horror. Dad wrote letters to all the children about how he'd changed because he had finished an anger management class. I still have my letter. I carried it with me, trying to believe in his words. He said he would treat Mom with the respect she deserved. My sister and I begged her not to take him back. This was her chance to finally make a clean getaway and not be under his control any longer. But of course she did. His niceness wore off in 2 weeks. She was in the same hell hole. My sister and I were heartbroken. We had nothing to do with Dad after that. There wasn't much to discuss over the phone with Mom because we didn't want to hear his name. Last year, my dad called, crying for me to come home and take care of Mom because she was deathly sick again. My dog and I left Florida and were here in 2 days so that I could cook, clean, and grocery shop. 3 days later, on St. Patrick's Day, Dad spent the night with his girlfriend in St. Louis. 2 days later, when I was in the kitchen making tea at 6:30 in the morning, I heard him talking to his girlfriend. He told her that he loved her and thanked her for letting him spend the night. Later, that same evening, I was surprised to hear my mom state that she did not want this woman visiting their house anymore. I mentioned that Dad had talked to her that morning. Well, with that, Dad exploded and tried to slap me 2 different times. So I called the police. Dad threatened to kill my dog and have his friends finish me off. The lead female officer, Patrolman Kelly, suggested we file for an ex parte or a restraining order. So early the next morning, my mother, with her walker, and I completed the forms at the courthouse. On the table was a brochure about the safe house, so we called for help as soon as we got home. Later that afternoon, we were each awarded an ex parte. Mom then hired a very patient divorce attorney, Mike Cato, who helped her through this terrible time. Mom was 83 years old, refused to wear her hearing aids, and cried most of the time. She was forced to live off $400 a month for over a year. Dad passed away earlier this year, 2 weeks before their divorce was final. Abuse can happen to anyone. Some of you sitting here tonight may have a secret or know someone who is going through similar situations to the ones I've mentioned. Most abused women return to their mate at least 7 times. If you are in an abusive relationship, please call the Safe House hotline, where you can attend abused women's meetings on Tuesday nights and Thursday afternoons. You can get individual counseling. You can receive help with education, employment, housing, and financial assistance. At these meetings, women and men of all ages, races, nationalities, and religions learn the basics of what normal is. They learn to live their lives according to these principles. You deserve to be treated with respect, love, and kindness. You have the right to say no. You are entitled to your own opinion. You must make safety and your own well-being your top priority. You are important, and you have done your very best. Mom attends these weekly support meetings led by the Safe House. At these meetings, there is a weekly topic of discussion where men and women shed tears for each other, share their words of wisdom, and help each other through the trials and tribulations of being abused. At nearly 85 years old, Mom is the matriarch of these support groups. She participates more now that her hearing aids are adjusted correctly, and she rereads all the handouts after she gets home. I think she considers them her homework assignments. She enjoys baking desserts for the attendees to share at their meetings. All the ladies see her as an icon. They look up to her and say, if she can do it, so can I. And they are right. Mom's words of wisdom to them are, you deserve better. Please don't go back again. Over the past 19 months, I have been fortunate to see firsthand how these women have survived and have started a new life on their terms. Many were broken and ashamed, like my mother, and they came to the Safe House with nothing. Now they have apartments and jobs. They are brave and strong individuals with qualities I so admire. Their determination has inspired my mom, and she in turn has inspired them. Mom has survived because Mary Ann, her counselor, gave her the strength and fortitude to save her own life. Mary Ann has listened and guided Mom through years of emotional abandonment and physical abuse. Becky, the court advocate for the Safe House, stood by my mom at every court appearance and gave her the courage to get through the grueling processes she was facing. Now, my sister stops by after work every other day. My brother-in-law calls her every afternoon at 4 p.m. My nephew mows and trims her lawn. Her great-granddaughter enjoys baking cookies with her frequently, and I call her every night from Florida. I've been very fortunate. We were able to spend 5 months together last year and 4 months this year. I've gotten to know the real person she's always been, but was forced to hide. My mother's experiences have made her the person she is today. She has come full circle, and she's finally free. She lives without fear and comes and goes as she pleases. She went on her first cruise to the Caribbean last year and an Alaskan cruise earlier this year. She's enjoying life because she's got a lot of living yet to do, and she's making up for a lot of lost time. She even took herself to the casino for dinner and a few chances at the slot machines the other night. These are things she would have never been allowed to do. My sister Janie wanted to add these words. Someday, we'll forget the hurt, the reason we cried, and who caused us the pain. We will finally realize that the secret of being free is not revenge, but letting things unfold in their own way and own time. After all, what matters is not the first, but the last chapter of our life, which shows how well we ran the race. So smile, laugh, forgive, believe, and love all over again. I always knew my mother was a rosebud, and now she's at full bloom. Every petal has a story, but the scent of that rose fills this room tonight. She is a true survivor and someone I am extremely proud of and honored to know. Now I'd like to introduce my mother, Mrs. V.
Very good, Mom.
Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you, thank you so much.
Thanks again to Sharon, her sister Janie, and her beautiful mother Viola. That was amazing, and we're so thankful for their courage. And it goes to show it's never too late to take a stand. Now we want to bring up Jessica Hill, the Executive Director for the Safe House for Women.
It is my distinct pleasure to say to you all tonight, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for filling the Osage Center this evening. And thank you for supporting the Safe House for Women. There are many specific thanks that I would like to give very briefly. First, we'd like to thank our many sponsors who have supported this event tonight. We have more sponsors than we've ever had for Vintage Now, and we thank you all. We also want to thank all those who have donated for our silent auction. Our silent auction is around the three sides of the room back here. It's one of the largest we've ever had. Be sure to check it out before it closes after intermission. And we say thank you to those who have donated for that as well. We want to say thank you to the Isle Casino for contributing food and to the Library Bar for doing our bar service tonight, and for everyone who has worked throughout the year to make this event possible. And of course, that means that we must not go any further tonight without saying thank you to Deb Mavers from Pastimes Antiques. As you know, Deb is the founder and director of this event. It was her vision 6 years ago to create something just like this that would go to support an agency who could benefit from additional community support, and we're so grateful that she chose the Safe House for Women and has continued to give her support to our organization. So thank you very much, Deb. As you may or may not know, the Safe House for Women serves 200 women and children with safe shelter every year, and an additional 300 individuals with non-residential services through our outreach office. There are 1,400 cases of domestic violence reported each year in Cape Girardeau County and our surrounding counties, and that number is simply much too high. The Safe House provides services such as court advocacy, counseling, case management, all the things that you heard Sharon just mention, and they're all provided at absolutely no charge to our clients. Thank you. Individuals who've been affected by domestic violence are all around us. It is very likely that you know someone. There may be somebody sitting next to you this very evening who's been affected by domestic violence, by physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, stalking, or sexual assault. In fact, one of those was greeting you this evening, and you probably would never have guessed, and that is my friend Leslie Washington, who's here with me tonight. Leslie is a former resident of our shelter. She is also a veteran of the Navy. She is a professionally trained chef. She is many, many, many more things than a survivor of domestic violence. When Leslie came to our shelter, her husband had broken virtually every bone in the side of her face. It took many months for her to recover, both physically and emotionally, from that experience. But today, as you can see, she's here with us, more beautiful and stronger than ever. It's people like Viola and Leslie and the many, many women and children who we serve each year that we are here for tonight. It costs $38 a day to house a woman or a child in our shelter. We provide their meals, personal care items, clothing, everything that is required. And we rely on our community support to help make that possible. So this evening, there are donation envelopes on your tables and at your chairs. If you don't have one near you, our hostesses are throughout the room. Just wave your hand and they'll get one to you. If you would like to make a donation this evening, again, put it in an envelope and raise it up, and they'll collect it from you, or you can drop it off at the ticket desk. It is our goal that we will be able to serve every single individual who needs our services until no one ever needs our services ever again. And you here tonight are making that possible, and we say thank you again from the bottom of our hearts, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.